Hello, Brad here, and I just can't stop. I've just made a video, which, just to remind us, was called Music Teacher Reacts to the New South Wales Draft 7 to 10 Music Syllabus. And in that video, I asked, is our new syllabus better, worse, or the same? So, that was all about, and the reason, why is Brad making this video? Well, because we're in the have your say period where the syllabus writers are open to community consultation. And so I'm going to a meeting tonight of music educators, and I'm planning to refresh myself and look again at the new syllabus and look at the old syllabus or the current syllabus. And as I said in our last video, when I was at a meeting recently with other music educators, people were saying, gee, it'd be great if we could see the old and the current and the new side by side. And so I thought, yes, I was thinking exactly the same thing, and I can do that. So I am. And so I thought I'd share it with you. But in the last video, we looked at the aims, the rationale, the aims, the outcomes, and the objectives, and that was enough. I ran out of petrol. I expect you did as well. But and I came to the conclusion that better, same, or worse. I came up with the conclusion that for me, it's worse. But I didn't feel comfortable just because we only got to not even halfway. I didn't feel comfortable just going, all right, it's worse, without giving it a chance to come back in the second half, as we say in sport, perhaps with the wind behind us. And so maybe the syllabus gets the benefit of a tailwind and comes in strong. And overall, I can walk away going, okay, so the aims and rationale and outcomes and objectives make me a little bit sad, but it comes good by the end. So, shall we find out? Let's have a look at my handy-dandy side-by-sider. And we got up to page 13 of the current syllabus, and around about the same, page 12 of the new one. And this is interestingly, so we're introduced to the concept of working musically in the new syllabus early on, but we're not really told what working musically means until down here on page 12. That might be something that could be improved. And in the last video, I talked about how I get sad about when we're talking about working around musicians and young people, when we have something that's so much cooler and really important as a human being. We have the concept of play. And I believe it's no mistake that we say playing music, and our music players have a play button, and cassette players used to have a play head, and the word play is such a big part of being a musician. So I'm not sure why we would need to put working when musicians play. So I understand we have to fit in with the other subjects, but do we actually? Maybe they could have some more play. So there you go, there's my rant. I hate the term working musically. I'll just put it out there. And we don't know what it is, and where does it exist in the world. It just comes down here, applies musical skills, technologies, notations, and tools to process and communicate musical ideas. Okay. It doesn't get me fired up, I've got to say. Where is the... So that just doesn't feel like it's coming from the literature base that was ethically, care-fully, lovingly, collaboratively. There's a lot more to... And what does musically mean? What does musically mean, and why isn't it defined? Because it's a contested concept. And so, can you just say working musically and then just give us this which is just one interpretation of what musically is. And I refer you to the whole working thing, which could just be a nod to the neoliberal underpinnings of this whole operation. Moving on. So here we've got contexts. So why don't we do a good old Command F and see if we can look for contexts here. Cool. Mandatory course, one compulsory. Oh yeah, we'll look at that in a second. Contexts, context. So yes, composing elective course. Maybe that's not the best way to proceed. Let's close that. Come back to page 13 and see how we go. It'd be really handy if it was exactly the same, wouldn't it, for our side-by-side comparison. Context range. Let's just see if we can... Boy, let's see content, learning experience, contexts. Okay. Let's have a look at this blurb. Students engage with music through a broad range of musical contexts that reflect its diversity and extensive scope across time. Reflects its diversity. Who's music? The diversity of music or the diversity of persons? That's an interesting one. Is that the best way we can deal with that? Worth a thought. Students, let's have a look over here. Students study music from a variety of contexts. Yeah, this really bothers me. Students engage with music. So the students are engaging. It's all about the music and diversity. Extensive scope, which kind of comes back to that original statement in the current syllabus, which was about places the student at the front, where this one puts music at the front. It's kind of like music was serving the student in the current, music serves the student in the current. I feel like the language of the new syllabus is more about the student serving the music. That's just how I'm reading it at the moment. Students study music from a variety of contexts, usually studied through specific topics. Okay, good. And these are topics over here. Wait a second. Teachers of the mandatory course may use alternative methods from the study of topics. Yes, that seems like some agency for teachers there. Good. Both the mandatory and elective courses have specific requirements regarding contexts. Bit of a shame. I like what was going on in the mandatory with alternative methods. That sounds like, like I said, some good agency there. Okay, let's see if, let's scroll down and see. Isn't it great to see? So we just got started. And sorry about the scroll. We just got started and we've got a content overview. I was just going to talk about how great it is to have that improvisation statement early on. Right, yes, so we're talking about context. There's technology, big statement, improvisation, big statement, cross-curricular content, and there's some great stuff here in Brad's highlights, by the way. Lots of that stuff from back in the day. And again, the political climate of the time about all of these key competencies was a big deal back at the time. Content. Okay. Content. And boy, yes. And we're into some problematic zones here, but I've got some good highlights that we'll have a look at in a minute. Contexts. Where were the... So... Do we have a list? Boy, I'm having a freak out. Do we even have a list? for Year 7, contexts in the elective course. Well, let's just jump. So here, seems like in stage 4, seems like we've gone from a you could to a you must. I'm always uncomfortable when we go from you could, based on your professional and personal experience and the people in front of you in your community context, to everybody should. No, everybody has to. So let's have a look. In stage 4, students study mandatory topic Music of Australia, whatever that means, incorporating music of Aboriginal and Torres Strait Islander peoples. So I was a bit flippant there, but what does Music of Australia mean? I guess it could be argued that happens in the support document, but Music of Australia. We are one, but we are many. That's a... all right, moving on. Incorporating music of Aboriginal and Torres Strait Islander peoples. Additional topics may be chosen from the list below or devised by the teacher. Hooray! The teacher is devising. Additional topics. Repertoire selected for study must reflect a broad range of styles that enrich or extend students' musical experiences and include exposure. Christopher Small, by the way, does a great thing on the word exposure and would be well worth checking out. And in fact, if you'd like me to tell it, I could tell it in another video. He finds the word exposure and the notion that students must be exposed to Western art music to be very funny. And he's got a funny bit on it. And so, as a result, I think that's I can't take that seriously. Thank you, Christopher Small. You have ruined exposure to Western art music for me forever. It must enrich and exposure to Western art and contemporary music. Teachers should use an integrated skill-based approach when teaching topics. And so, a nod there to our current situation, which we'll come back to. So at least we've retained the word integrated. But now, rather than a learning experience, it's a skill-based approach. And I think that is a massive difference. An important difference, and I'm calling it a loss. So -1. Topics may be studied more than once. Could be combined, e.g. Australian jazz. Music of Australia, compulsory. Western art music, contemporary music. This is really interesting. Contemporary music such as popular jazz. Interesting given that jazz has at least 100 years of history. Not sure how that makes it don't get it. Hip hop, reggae, disco, heavy metal, hard rock. I don't know. This feels like something an old person would write, doesn't it? Said an old person. Yep. All right, moving on. And yeah, oh boy, music of a culture. All right, let's move on. Music for the stage. This all just seems, holy moly, really? Do we need, such as theatre, ballet, opera? Yes, you mean music for the stage. Tick. Music for media and film. Animation. Music for ensembles. Small, large. I'm really disgruntled because there's no mention of medium-sized ensembles. It's an outrage. Bands, choral, chamber or orchestral music. Music and meaning. This is massively problematic, isn't it? What the heck? Which music doesn't have a purpose? Yuck. This just feels dumb. Sorry. No, I'm not sorry. This feels dumb. Music and meaning. Crikey. Music and tech. I couldn't. Okay, today class, we're going to take a break from all of that music that doesn't have any meaning and study a topic this term about music which does. Music and technology, also dumb. We spend so much time in music education trying to get over this whole technology thing and trying to embrace it and integrate it and see technology as something, as an enabling thing, and then to actually make it. It just feels that retrograde to me. Sad. That makes me sad. Music and technology, such as digital music. It feels like we're othering. There's acoustic music, probably value statement good. There's good acoustic music. And then there's this digital music which is different, and that's what technology is. Problematic for me. Don't like it. So, all right, over here. So this is the compare and contrast. I've always hated this as well. Just FYI. At least this feels like Peter Brock was in there. Was it Group 1 racing? And by the way, and country rugby league. I come from a Group 2 rugby league town. That's what I always think about that when I look at these groups. Yuck. I've always hated these as well. But at least, and again, no music for medium ensembles. No music for ensembles in the interstices. You can't really tell if it's small or medium. I'm being flippant, but sometimes this just feels like it's too silly for words. The music of a culture different from Group 1. That always tickles my fancy. At least jazz got its own thing. And the outworking of all of this has been striking students over the head with a term of music that they have no connection or interest to in the past, even though it's not implicitly stated in the syllabus. In Brad's perfect world, all of this goes away, and we play, compose, and listen to music. All right, so I'm going to call that, I still think this is better. All right, a win, but I don't like any of it. And here we go. Let's have a look at the concepts. Oh yeah, well there was that compulsory topic, Australian music. So what are we calling it now? Music of Australia. Is that a step forward? I feel like it's still just as silly in not diminishing as an Australian musician who loves other Australian musicians. Not diminishing that. It's just weird. Music of Australia. There's got to be a better way. Duration. Steady and changing beat. All right, so here we go. And then there's all of these concepts. So let's have a look. Have we covered it? Yes, life skills, content. Did we get to the bottom of this syllabus? I think so. Oh yeah, okay. So let's come back up and have a look at the concepts statements. And again, this is just a first go doing it live, and apologies for the scrolling, but I'm doing it. So I felt like I might as well do it for YouTube. Okay, content overview. So a couple of things that I want to pull out here. Do we need to go? Yes, pardon my silence. I'm just trying to find the bit. Okay, in music. So we're up here, organization of content. in music, both courses, students will study the concepts of music through the learning experiences, of performing, composing, listening. Notice they all end in ing, within the context of a range of styles, periods, and genres. The learning experiences are performing, composing, and listening. And the reason I get upset and sad about the new syllabus is I just think the power of the word experience is so powerful and so important, and keeps us rooted in the Deweyan pragmatic realm that we should have experience in music. And when we walk into a classroom, a music classroom, do we want to see students engaging with or experiencing? I just think the whole, and what are these? They're not experiences anymore. They're skills-based approaches versus learning experiences. That's a massive difference for me, a massive philosophical difference, which has a massive outworking, I believe. If we go from experiencing, where it's about living, it's about life and doing the thing, and versus a skills base where it becomes about vocational education. Okay, cool. So that was that. Concepts of music. So let's see if we can. Yes. So the concepts: duration, pitch, texture, tone, color, dynamics, and expressive technique, structure remain unchanged. And there was an opportunity, wasn't it, for us to move away from this idea of musical concepts to perhaps a more real world expression of these things that musicians do. But we haven't. But that might be something that you'd like to chime in on. This is the opportunity to change up our syllabus. Essential content, engaging. Isn't that good? Students engage with the repertoire. But here, the students engage in the concepts of music, learning experiences, and various contexts, depending on the pattern of implementation chosen. And then that was blah, blah, duration. Okay, so let's say that this is all contested and problematic anyway, but at least we can see if we're moving forwards, backwards, or staying the same. So at the moment, I'm calling stay the same because we still have 6 concepts of music. Steady and changing beat, the underlying pulse, meter, the grouping of beats. Okay, so tempo, rhythmic devices. It's amazing how, of all the rhythmic devices, syncopation seems to be something that music educators get really, really anxious about. Make sure they know about syncopation. All right, rhythm, patterns of long, short sound, silence, found in music. This feels like a more open, inclusive way of thinking about it. Metric groupings. In simple versus over here, we've gone into simple and compound time. So I'm calling this is more open, even though we're still in the concepts. All right. Pitch. Manipulate and discuss. Do we manipulate? We're engaging. I prefer manipulate and discuss. I don't think we're... Yep, that's better to me. It's clearer. Manipulate and discuss as relevant to the music studied, which is interesting, isn't it? So if it's not relevant, don't manipulate it or discuss it. The repertoire provides a focus for the student's understanding of the concepts. High-low, indefinite. Well, let's have a look over here. Direction, contour, steps, leaps, simple melodic, chords 1, 4, 5, 5, 5, 7. Never really understood why we why we're okay, sure, primary chords and all of that, but yes, hierarchy of chords, graphic notation, treble clef, bass clef, tablature. Do we need to be that prescriptive? That feels pretty prescriptive. Seems a bit. Now so having been involved in pre-service and in-service education for a long time, what we know is that when you put lists down, it's very difficult not to turn it into a recipe. And so often, just with our current syllabus, teachers turn this information into worksheets. And so rather than manipulating and discussing, students are worksheeting. And so my concern is that if we have more of this, it's more prescriptive, less open, and certainly more Western art music. With this idea of treble clef, bass clef, at least we've got some graphic notation, but seems to me like that's overly prescriptive. It doesn't need to be. Do we go duration, pitch? Interesting. New, straight onto texture. So we've got isn't that interesting? We've got texture instead of do we have texture in the past? Pitch? No. Classic dynamics next. This was an opportunity to change this up. Range of dynamics, including gradations. Articulations. Never really understand. I think it's problematic again. Just articulations, and then let's have music education professionals who know what articulations are. It's just me. Range of tempi. Musical directions as appropriate to the repertoire studied. Right. Range of dynamics, articulations. Oh, we already had that. Good job. Old syllabus tick. Used gradations of tempo. Did we have that? Oh, yeah. I know, I get it. But gee, in the field, the whole why is tempo in two concepts, totally get it. But gee, that trips up young people. Just an observation there. Makes it very difficult. Maybe you can unfurl it over a lifetime. Then what do we... So we've got tone, colour, use of layers of sound, role of instruments and voices. What have we got here? Texture, layers of sound and their function. Whoa, that sounds cooler. The role of instruments and or voices. That sounds pretty good. Yep, melody and accompaniment. Is that superfluous? I think so. Manipulate and discuss. Again, I'm calling that one. I like that more. Structure, phrases, motifs, themes, phrases, motifs, repetitive patterns. Interesting there, just trying to be inclusive, I think, with the idea of different musics, talking about repetitive patterns differently, but over here we've broken them out. I'm not sure about that. Traditional and non-traditional patterns of musical structure. Interesting. Of course, whose tradition? Problematic there. Okay, that's problematic, old syllabus. And again, when I talk to lots of music teachers, it seems like overly prescriptive. Do we really need all of that? And a student. And we talked about this before. Okay, now, so then we go on to all of this prescription. I think haven't we covered it? Or up here, performing, participating in. So we've just got some lovely statements here. Learning experiences. Look at this. Learning in music occurs best when these experiences are integrated with each other. Tick. Provide a program that balances each of the learning experiences. Provide a balance where possible of female and male composers and performers. At least we've got some. I haven't seen a statement about that sort of idea. And asterisk of its time. But of its time in an aspirational yet flawed, possibly flawed way, but having a shot. Explore key roles. Yes, key roles. That's pretty cool. Practical music making fostered opportunities. Look at this one. Oh man, this is one of my favorites. According to individual needs, interests, abilities, and school resources. In other words, scope, opportunities, possibilities. Can't find anything like that in the new syllabus. Let me know if you did. In composing, we're organising sound. We'll come over here in a second. Let's start with what we've got today. Participating in any form of practical music making. That's pretty cool. I think it'd be great to get rid of the or. That would have been one of the things in solo and ensemble situations. Even if there's only 2 people in the school, ideally you'd have an opportunity to perform with the other person, surely. Look at this. Continued involvement in a wide range of experiences in classroom activities. Whoa, not... Okay, all right, good. Simple, from the simple to the complex, may involve relatively small tasks that can be synthesized into more complete pieces of music. That's a pretty cool statement. Okay, good. I was going to go on, but I won't. Hear, understand, respond. Make judgments about their use. Studying sound in relation to musical scores. Understand how composers have used and manipulated the concept. Understand how composers have used and manipulated the concepts. Cool. What's going on over here? Listening. Working musically. Listen and appreciate. Problematic. How do we know? How can we force somebody? The whole idea of appreciation and teaching people how to do it is problematic, and I would like that to go. Yeah, that sounds coercive and problematic. Orally explore and respond to music of various styles. Ooh. Identify how concepts of music have been used and manipulated in a range of repertoire. Not as good as over here. Identify the use of musical technologies. 1. Multi-track. What's this? Yeah, fair enough. Interpret non-traditional. There's that word again, non-traditional. Whose tradition is it? Or instrument-specific notations. Feels a bit othering to me. Create graphic and non-traditional. Whose tradition? Record simple rhythms using traditional notation. Yuck. Whose tradition? Recognize tonalities in simple 2 or 3 chord progressions. Is there any such thing as a simple chord progression? Discuss. Select and use a range of communications forms to discuss music. No mention of critically examining, thinking about how application to life. Musical terms. Create written texts. Use musical terms and established written text types and structures to explain or discuss responses to music as appropriate. Wouldn't hurt to have that there. And established written text types. Boy. All right. Create written texts to describe the treatment of concepts of music. Yeah, well, at least it's at the bottom, right? But, gee, at least it's at the bottom. I always maintain that there's so much writing to be done in school. We have learning experiences of performing, composing, and listening. And there's lots of ways to demonstrate understanding, and it's just not about writing stuff down. So, tick that it's at the bottom, but wish it wasn't there at all. Understand how music relates to a time, culture, or genre. Explore the expressive intent of musical works based on their context. Recognize the characteristics and rules of a particular genre and style in brackets and break them. Explore cultural contexts and sensitivities. Create written text to compare and contrast. Oh yeah, I just read that? Did I? No. Oh, there it is again. Crikey. Boy. I'm not enjoying. I gotta say, I'm not enjoying it. I always found this part of our current syllabus problematic, but my gosh, this is a lot of dot points. Yuck. Perform music through singing and playing. That sounds like a really poorly worded thing. That's yuck. Perform in an ensemble and those of other instruments. Well, it's actually other people playing the instruments. Demonstrate understanding of balance in an ensemble. Yeah, okay. This feels very utilitarian. Feels very music as a... just feels very factory. Perform own compositions and those of peers. Hooray for you. Demonstrate the skill required to perform rhythms. Apply dynamics and expressive techniques. Explore and experiment to improve expression. Interesting, it's not personal expression, right? Whose expression? Explore and experiment with digital technologies. Well, at least we've got some technology in there. Yuck. Traditional, non-traditional, again, yuck. Understand safe instrumental and vocal practices, including correct posture, warm-up, and technique. Interesting one. Be interested to see what the community thinks about that one. I'm interested because, yeah, I love the idea of safety, but then find correct problematic. Okay, that's all I'll say about that. Yes, safety, good. Correct, problematic. Understand safety protocols. Whoa. Related to electronic media and technology. Seems like a reasonable statement. Not sure about the wording. Yeah, okay, so as we go on, all right, I think we'll leave it there. And I think we're getting the gist of this dot point thing, which is just, boy, it's exhausting. We've only been going for a little while. I'm exhausted. Dot point after dot point. That raises more questions than answers, I think. A little typo there. Just move that over to the left. And boy, and then we're down. So, all right. I thought that's taken ages. So my key takeaway from this component is it feels really prescriptive, and again, lots of the beautiful words and ideas over here. Just it'd be good to have a check. We won't do it now. Any instrument can be regarded as a piece of technology, a tool that can be used by a musician to make music. be good. Could you have a check? We won't do it now. Have a check for improv, which even though we have it in our syllabus, in the literature we're told that oftentimes it's neglected by teachers, and there we have it. So we'll leave it there. Sorry I couldn't get us to the end, but there's just so many dot points. Yep. Oh boy. So I really look forward to massive changes to this draft syllabus as a result of your careful community consultation. Make sure you have your say, and I'll put the links. Just Google New South Wales, or just Google New South Wales draft syllabus. I'll also put the links down below. And so the whole point of this was same, better, or worse. Is our new syllabus going to be the same, better, or worse? And again, I didn't make it right to the end, but my strong advice would be to anybody involved in implementing this syllabus would be, don't. We're worse off. Could we please just, if we're not going to make the syllabus better, could we please just continue to use the one we are? That's where I've landed. This one doesn't move us forward as a profession. It doesn't feel, like I said last time, it doesn't feel aspirational, inspirational. It doesn't feel inclusive, and it doesn't feel like it's a syllabus designed to release young people into the wonders of music, and for them to express themselves and find themselves and have opportunities to experiment with others, and to find out what music might be, to be future makers, as Pamela Bernard talks about. There seems to be lots of focus on making sure students learn how to do things properly and learn the proper music, which is something we've been struggling against. Many of us have been struggling against for decades, maybe 50 years, of trying to think more broadly about music and more inclusively. And I think this is a misstep. I think this is a backward step. And so have your say. And we should get the syllabus that our young people deserve. And I don't think this is it. All right. That will do. So that's my side-by-side syllabus comparison. And thanks to the dot points, I couldn't make it to the end. I'm going to have a lie down, and I would expect you probably need one too. And then I'm going to get typing and write some responses to this Have Your Say survey. All right. Brad here for Gig-Based Learning. These views were my own, and they're subject to change as a result of the community consultation I'll be involved in. And who knows, maybe there's another video where I step all of this back or change my mind on some stuff. All right. Music education is the answer. This is worth getting right. And like the Beastie Boys say, you got to fight for your right to party.